Step into a realm where history comes alive as we sit down with the legendary Napoleon Bonaparte. From battlefield genius to societal reformer, uncover the man behind the myth. Prepare for a journey through time, strategy, and the human spirit as we embark on an epic dialogue with one of history's most captivating figures. Napoleon, thank you for joining us today. Many know you as a military genius and a transformative political figure, but I'd like to start with a simple question. How would you describe yourself in your own words?
I am a soldier of fortune, an instrument of destiny, a man of the people who rose to power on the wings of change. I am a son of the revolution, born in the fires of conflict and hardened in the crucible of command. I am, and always will be, Napoleon.
And where are we conducting this interview, Napoleon? Could you describe our surroundings?
We find ourselves in the heart of my empire, within the grand halls of the Tuileries Palace, a place of splendor and power, echoing with the whispers of history, adorned with the spoils of conquest, and illuminated by the ever-burning flame of ambition.
Fascinating. You've led a life full of conquest and rule, but I'm curious about your early life. What was your childhood like?
I was born on the rugged island of Corsica, a land as wild and untamed as the sea itself. My family was of minor nobility, but our resources were limited. From a young age, I was instilled with a fierce desire to rise above my circumstances and make a name for myself. This ambition was my guiding star, leading me from the austere halls of military school to the glorious battlefields of Europe.
Thank you for sharing that. Now let's delve deeper into your military career. Napoleon, you quickly ascended the ranks of the French military and political systems. Can you share some insights about this rapid rise to power?
Power is not given, it is taken. I seized opportunities as they presented themselves. The revolution tore down the old order and created a vacuum. I stepped into that vacuum, guided by my conviction and strategic acumen.
There were many military campaigns and battles during your reign. Is there one in particular that you feel was your greatest achievement?
The Battle of Austerlitz is often considered my greatest military achievement. On that day, I defeated the combined forces of Austria and Russia. It was more than a victory. It was a demonstration of strategic superiority.
That indeed was a pivotal moment in history. You've always been known for your strategic mind. Could you share more about your approach to warfare?
Warfare is a blend of art and science. It is about understanding the terrain, the strengths and weaknesses of your enemy, and the morale of your troops. I always believed in swift, decisive action. Maneuver your enemy into a position of disadvantage, strike with force and purpose, and victory will follow.
Your Code Napoleon, or the Napoleonic Code, is still the basis of civil law in many jurisdictions. Could you talk about what led you to undertake this reform?
The revolution sought to erase the injustices of the old regime, but it left behind a legal system in disarray. I saw the need for a unified legal code, one that embodied the principles of equality, liberty, and fraternity. Thus, the Napoleonic Code was born.
Let's change gears a bit. We often associate you with the phrase, "Able was I ere I saw Elba," referring to your exile and return. Could you share your feelings about this time?
Exile to Elba. A moment of bitterness indeed. I was a sovereign without a kingdom, confined to a tiny island. Yet, I did not lose hope. In fact, it steeled my resolve, fueled my ambition. As for my return, it was a testament to my will, a demonstration that even in defeat, I remained unbroken.
That's a powerful perspective. Napoleon, you've often been compared to tyrants and dictators, given the amount of power you held. How do you respond to such comparisons?
I was a leader chosen by the will of the people. I brought order to the chaos of the revolution, restored France's glory. I won't deny the concentration of power, but it was necessary for the reforms I implemented.
But some argue that you suppressed civil liberties, installed family members in positions of power, and led France into devastating wars. Doesn't that suggest a dictatorship?
Every decision I made, every action I took, was for the greater good of France. You call it suppression, I call it maintaining order. You call it nepotism. I call it trust. And the wars were not my choice alone. Europe was a chessboard of power, and I played the game.
A game that led to the loss of hundreds of thousands of lives.
War, Mr. Sterling, is a cruel inevitability in the struggle for power. I did not relish the loss of life, but I did what was necessary for France. I regret the lives lost, but I won't apologize for defending my country.
Napoleon, you speak of necessity and defending your country, but wasn't it ambition that drove you to expand your empire, even at the cost of countless lives?
Of course. Every leader is driven by ambition. Show me a leader without ambition, and I'll show you a weakling destined to fail. As for power, I desired it to bring about change, to build a strong and prosperous France.
Isn't it true that you were consumed by your desire for power? Yet your strong and prosperous France ended up bankrupt, exhausted by constant warfare, and ultimately returned to a monarchy after your exile. Was it worth it?
You dare question my intentions, my achievements. I modernized France, implemented laws and reforms. I may have lost in the end, but the changes I initiated cannot be erased. The defeat, the exile, they don't diminish what I accomplished.
But don't you think the cost was too high? The lives lost? The destruction?
Enough. I've heard enough of your insinuations. You sit here, centuries later, judging me with the benefit of hindsight. You have no idea what it was like, the pressures, the decisions I had to make. I did what I believed was right. That is all.
I apologize if my questions have upset you, Napoleon. I didn't mean to offend. Let's shift our conversation a bit. You've faced numerous hardships in your life: exile, defeat, the loss of loved ones. Can you tell us about a time when you felt particularly low or defeated?
Yes, there were moments when even I felt defeated. The loss of Josephine, my first wife, was a significant blow. She was my rock during the turbulent times. And later, the exile. Being sent away to an isolated island, the fall from the pinnacle of power to absolute solitude, it was a bitter pill to swallow.
It must have been incredibly difficult. Influences are often key in shaping great leaders. Who were the individuals you looked up to, or who influenced you, Napoleon?
For me, it was always the great figures from history. Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar. They were men who reshaped the world. I admired their boldness, their strategic genius.
You mentioned Julius Caesar. Do you have any thoughts on him and his legacy?
A man of undeniable prowess, both on the battlefield and in the political arena. His rise to power, his reformative actions, and his eventual demise, all are deeply intertwined with Rome's history.
That's a powerful sentiment, Napoleon. Let's switch gears a bit. Can you describe your relationship with your family? I believe you had several siblings?
Yes, I am the second of 8 children. My relationship with them, well, it's complex, to say the least. We experienced poverty, struggle, but also triumph together. Yet, power and politics can strain even the closest of bonds.
Indeed, power and politics can be a tricky balance to maintain. On that note, what are your views on the concept of the ends justify the means? I ask because some might argue your methods were controversial, to say the least.
Controversial? Indeed, they were. Yet, every great leader must make difficult choices. The ends justify the means? Perhaps. But remember, I sought to bring stability to a nation ravaged by revolution, to bring glory to France.
I see. Let's delve into a slightly different area, if you don't mind. You were known as a military genius. Your strategies studied even today. What, in your opinion, made you such a successful military leader?
The art of war. You see, it's not just about formations and tactics. It's about understanding the human element, the will of your soldiers, the fear and courage that resides in every man's heart. A general who can inspire his men, who can make them believe in victory even in the face of overwhelming odds. Now that's a leader.
You've lived through tumultuous times, Napoleon. The French Revolution, the rise of the empire, and your eventual exile. What would you say was the most challenging part of your life?
The most challenging part, I would say it was the period after my defeat at the Battle of Waterloo. Not just because of the loss, but because of the consequences that followed. I was sent into exile on St. Helena, a remote island in the South Atlantic. Cut off from the world, I had time to reflect on my life and my choices.
Reflecting on your life and choices, do you have any regrets?
Regrets? Yes, I have them. I am not a saint, nor a monster. I am a man who made choices based on the circumstances presented to him. If I had the chance, perhaps I would have avoided invading Russia. That campaign cost me a lot, not just in terms of men and resources, but also in terms of reputation and momentum. Yet even in regret, there is a lesson, and I've learned mine.
As we move towards the end of our conversation, could you give us a glimpse into your daily life? What did a typical day look like for you?
A typical day. That's a difficult concept for a man of my station, but I will try. I would wake early, often before dawn. I had a reputation for needing little sleep, you see. The day would begin with a review of reports and dispatches from my generals and officials. I would then move to meetings, discussions, and planning sessions. This could range from military strategies to administrative policies. I enjoyed reading and had a fondness for mathematics and geography. I also played chess, a game that I believe mirrored the strategies of war and politics. Dinner would be a formal affair, often with guests and dignitaries. Conversations would flow with the wine, touching upon subjects as varied as the state of the empire to the latest scientific discoveries. Late into the night, I would work. This was the time I found for deep thinking and strategic planning. The quiet hours were my solace, my sanctuary, and it was in the stillness of the night that some of my most decisive plans took shape. Then, with only a few hours before dawn, I would retire, only to start again with the rise of the sun.
That sounds like an incredibly intense and demanding routine. As we wrap up, is there any last thought or message you would like to share?
Let me quote something I once said: "Imagination rules the world." I believe it encapsulates the essence of my philosophy. Dream, strive, dare, and let your imagination chart your course. For in the end, we are but the sum of our dreams and our actions.
Napoleon, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
The honor is mine, Kai.
Hi everyone, I'm Christopher from Starlit Journeys. As we evolve, I'm contemplating a shift from our AI narrator Kai to bring you these historical tales personally. What do you think about that? Would a real voice add to our creative journey? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Please check out our other interviews, and if you're intrigued, please hit the subscribe button. You can also check out our social media channels for more content. The links are in the description. Thank you so much for making history with us. Your engagement is our inspiration.